Good evening, everybody.
So, guten Abend allerseits.
Let us open with a prayer.
Lasst uns mit Gebet öffnen. Lieber himmlischer Vater, ich danke dir für diesen Tag.
Please help us to concentrate in the study.
Bitte hilft uns, aufmerksam auf diesem Studium zu sein.
And please bless also Brother Lawrence who is leading us out.
Bitte segne Bruder Lorenz, als er die Klasse leitet.
And please fill our hearts with your words.
Und bitte fülle unserem Herzen mit deinem Heiligen Geist.
In Jesus' name, amen.
In Jesu Namen. Amen.
Okay, so let's turn to Daniel chapter 10.
So, lass uns Daniel Kapitel 10 aufschlagen.
And let us read verse 1.
Und wir lesen Vers 1.
Daniel 10 verse 1.
Daniel 10, Vers 1.
It says, in the third year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar. And the thing was true, but the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing and had understanding of the vision. So, where's Daniel standing here?
So, wo steht Daniel hier?
Hier.
Yes, third year of Cyrus, right?
Der dritte Jahr von Kyros.
And on the line here, on the top, where would this be?
Und auf der Linie hier oben, wo würde das denn sein?
Yes, right?
Am
So,
Ende von der ersten Zeit des Trübsals.
Daniel stands here,
Daniel steht hier.
because the third year of Cyrus is also the first year of Cyrus,
So, der dritte Jahr von Kyros ist auch gleich das erste Jahr von Kyros.
which is the year when the decree was made, right?
Was das Jahr war, wo das Dekret erlassen worden ist.
Which is according to reform lines, right this way mark here.
Und gemäß der Reformlinie ist diese Wegmarke hier.
Okay, so and it says here he received an understanding of the vision, right?
Und hier sagt es, dass er ein Verständnis von der Vision erhalten hat.
And which vision was given to him?
Und welche Vision wurde ihm hier gegeben?
Daniel 11, right?
So, Daniel 11.
So Daniel 11 was given to him,
So, ihm wurde Daniel 11 gegeben.
and let us, before we go there, let us read 10 verse 14 and verse 21.
Und noch bevor wir dahin gehen zu Daniel 11, wir wollen erst in Daniel 10, Vers 14 und dann Vers 21 lesen.
Because Gabriel is now speaking to Daniel and says the following.
Weil Gabriel, der spricht mit Daniel und sagt Folgendes:
Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For yet the vision is for many days. So what is Gabriel to do?
So, gemäß Vers 14, was soll Gabriel tun?
Yes, okay.
Er soll
Show him what
Verständnis.
will be in the latter days.
Yes, okay.
Er wird zeigen, was in den letzten Tagen sein wird.
But what is because John is standing here also, right?
Weil Johannes, der steht auch hier an diesem Wegmarke.
And what is John given?
Und was wird Johannes gegeben?
A message to the churches.
A Revelation.
The past, present and future.
Yes, exactly.
Also eine Offenbarung zu den Gemeinden, zu der Vergangenheit, Gegenwart und Zukunft.
So he's shown the future, right?
Also er wird die Zukunft gezeigt.
By the past and by the present way he's standing.
Also indem dass die Vergangenheit aufgetan wird,
So the same
dort, wo er
is
steht.
here for Daniel. Daniel is now getting a revelation about what shall come in the future, right?
Dasselbe wie Daniel hier, er erhielt eine Offenbarung über das, was in der Zukunft kommen wird.
And then let's jump down to verse 21.
Und jetzt Vers 21.
It says, Gabriel is speaking still.
Also Gabriel spricht noch.
But I will show thee that which is noted in the scripture of truth, and there's none that holdeth with me in these things but Michael your prince. Okay, so this revelation that we will obtain here is something that only Gabriel and Christ understands.
Also diese Offenbarung, die wir hier erhalten werden, ist nur irgendetwas, was Gabriel und Christus versteht.
Okay.
You know why? That's the case.
I thought too, yes.
Because it's an experience.
Also das ist der Fall, weil es ist eine Erfahrung.
The everlasting gospel, right, is something that nobody has experience or understands in a way, understands fully, except you have experienced it.
Also niemand versteht das ewige Evangelium auf so eine Art und Weise, es sei denn, dass du es selbst erfahren
So
hast.
that's why only Gabriel can give it, and Christ also himself has experienced
Und
it.
deswegen kann nur Gabriel es geben und Christus auch, hat das auch erfahren.
Amen. Because maybe just to confirm your thought,
Also nur um deine Gedanke Gewicht zu verleihen,
keep your finger here in Daniel. Let's go to Revelation 5.
haltet den Platz hier in Daniel und geht zur Offenbarung 5.
Because in Revelation 5 there's this sealed book, right?
Denn in Offenbarung 5 ist es dieses Buch, der versiegelt ist,
With the 7 seals.
mit 7 Siegeln.
And then let's read verse 4 and down to verse 7.
Wir lesen die Verse 4 bis 7.
You want to read this, Brother Marcos?
And I wept much because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, one of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns, 7 eyes, and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne.
Yes. Okay, so when are you able to open the book?
So, wann bist du imstande, das Buch zu öffnen?
Yes, when you overcome, right? And specifically here?
Wenn du überwunden hast. Aber spezifisch hier drauf,
When you're the
So-
lamb that's been slain.
Yes, exactly.
wenn du das Lamm bist, der geschlachtet worden
So
ist.
you must have went to the cross.
So, du musst bereits zum Kreuz gegangen.
And we understand the cross experience is this final test. And this is then goes along with what Brother Fyodor mentioned.
Und wir verstehen, dass diese Kreuzerfahrung ist das finale Test und das ist in Übereinstimmung mit das, was Bruder Fyodor sagt.
So you went now through the everlasting gospel, the 3 steps, and now you can open the book.
Also, du bist durch das ewige Evangelium hindurchgegangen, diese 3 Schritte, und jetzt bist du imstande, das Buch zu öffnen.
So, and now something can be revealed to you that nobody else can comprehend.
Und jetzt kann dir irgendetwas geoffenbart werden, die niemanden anderem erfassen kann.
Okay, and when we go back to Daniel 10,
Und zurück zu Daniel 10,
because in verse 21 we read, it's only Gabriel and Michael that can understand these things.
Vers 21 haben wir bereits gelesen, dass es nur Gabriel und Michael, die diese Dinge verstehen können.
What do you become here?
Was wirst du hier werden?
The
Yeah.
anointed one,
Yes,
which is both Christ and Gabriel.
Also
exactly.
der Gesalbte, was sowohl Christus als auch Gabriel ist.
So that's why you become here the church triumphant, you know, this church in heaven like Gabriel, right?
So deswegen werden wir die siegreiche Gemeinde hier, die Gemeinde im Himmel, genauso wie Gabriel.
And that's
Christ
why
is
then
the
you,
anointed one.
yes, and Christ is the anointed
Und
one.
Christus ist auch der Gesalbte.
And that's why you can now also understand these things.
Und deswegen kannst du auch jetzt diese Dinge verstehen.
Okay, so but we understand that this is a parallel to this.
Aber wir
Okay?
verstehen, dass das hier eine Parallelstelle ist zu das hier.
So in this sense, Ezekiel stands here.
So in diesem Sinne, Hesekiel steht hier.
He stands on the 4th day of the 5th month. On the 5th day of the 4th month.
Er steht am 5. Tag des 4. Monats.
And he also sees the glory of God, right?
Er sieht auch die Herrlichkeit des Herrn.
So, therefore, in principle, yeah, we can also place Daniel here.
So
Okay?
im Prinzip können wir auch Daniel hier markieren.
In the sense that we will also receive revelation of the book of Daniel right here.
In dem Sinne, dass wir auch hier eine Offenbarung über das Buch Daniel hier erhalten werden.
Okay, so therefore, because what specifically was revealed to Daniel was Daniel 11,
So, was Daniel geoffenbart worden ist, war das Buch Daniel 11.
and therefore we can expect that when we come to midnight, God will also give us a deeper understanding of Daniel 11.
So, deswegen können wir auch erwarten, dass wenn wir hier zur Mitternacht ankommen, dass wir ein tieferes Verständnis von Daniel 11 erhalten werden.
And in some sense, we will receive an understanding that only Christ and Gabriel understand.
In gewissem Sinne, wir werden ein Verständnis darüber erhalten, die nur Christus und Gabriel haben.
So it's something very glorious that the Lord is soon to give us.
So,
Okay.
es ist irgendetwas sehr Glorreiches, was der Herr uns sehr bald geben wird.
So we just stand just before it.
So, wir stehen kurz davor.
And that's why I wanted to go with you through Daniel 11 a little bit now.
Und deswegen wollte ich ein bisschen etwas durch Daniel 11 hindurchgehen.
And what I want to look at this evening is just again to remind ourselves, because it's a huge chapter, right?
Und heute Abend, was wir tun wollen, ist nur zur Erinnerung, denn Daniel 11 ist ein umfassreichendes Kapitel.
And what we want to look at is now between these different battles of the king of the north and the king of the south.
Und was wir insbesondere anschauen wollen, ist diese verschiedenen Kämpfe gegen des König des Nordens und König des Südens.
Because this might give us further understanding of this battle at the Sunday law.
Denn das mag uns ein tieferes Verständnis geben über dieses Kampf, die wir am Sonntagsgesetz erwarten.
Okay. So let us go and let us begin in Daniel 11
So, lasst uns in Daniel 11 anfangen.
and let us read the first 5 verses.
Und wir lesen die ersten 5 Verse.
And Marius, you want to read those verses for us, please?
The first one.
Mhm.
It says, also in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood a conformant to strengthen him. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength through his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. And the mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside those. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion.
Okay, thank you. So, now what is the historical account of these verses?
So, was ist der historische Anwendung von diesen Versen?
Medo-Persia in Greece.
And the fourth.
Yes, okay. So in verse 2 you have these Persian kings,
Also in Vers 2 hat man diese persische Könige.
and then in verse 3 and 4 we have Alexander the Great, right?
Die Verse 3 und 4, wir haben Alexander der Große.
And in verse 5, what happened in verse 5?
Und in Vers 5, was geschah?
That's because the battle between Ptolemy and Seleucus, right?
Not yet. I mean, it just mentioned that there's now these different kings, right? Or these different princes.
North and south, right?
Yes. So you have the king of the south mentioned here. Right?
Also König des Südens hier erwähnt.
So it's the first time the king of the south is mentioned, and then in verse 6 you also have the king of the north mentioned, right?
Also in Vers 5 König des Südens erwähnt zum ersten Mal und dann in Vers 6.
Maybe Philip, you want to read verse 6 also for us?
In Vers 6 der König des Nordens wird auch erwähnt.
And in the end of years they shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times.
Okay, so what is this verse describing?
So was beschreibt diesen Vers?
So union between the north and the south
Yes,
through marriage.
exactly, right? But maybe we can just look at what happened then.
Also vielleicht können wir anschauen, was da geschah.
Yes, was Bernice, right?
Das wäre Bernice.
Okay, I will just post this now in the Livestream group.
Also ich werde ein Zitat in den Livestream senden.
It's taken from Uriah Smith's book.
Das ist von Uriah Smith, sein Buch Daniel und der Offenbarung.
Okay, so let us read this quote.
Lasst uns das lesen.
Peter, you want to read this for us, please?
And in the end of years they shall join themselves together. For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand, nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times. There were frequent wars between the kings of Egypt and Syria. Especially was this the case with Ptolemy Philadelphus, and the second king of Egypt, and Antiochus Theos, third king of Syria. They at length agreed to make peace upon condition that Antiochus Theos should put away his former wife Laodice and her 2 sons, and should marry Berenice, the daughter of Ptolemy Philadelphus. Ptolemy accordingly brought his daughter to Antiochus, bestowing with her an immense dowry. But she shall not retain the power of the arm. That is her interest and power with Antiochus. And so it proved for some time shortly after, in a fit of love, Antiochus brought back his former wife Laodice and her children to court again. Then says the prophet, neither shall he, Antiochus, stand, nor his arm, nor seat. Laodice, being restored to favor and power, feared lest in the fickleness of his temper Antiochus should again disgrace her and recall Berenice, and conceiving that nothing short of this, that his death would be an effectual safeguard against such contingency, she caused him to be poisoned shortly after. Neither did his seed by Berenice succeed him in the throne, for Laodice so managed affairs as to secure the throne from her eldest son, Seleucus Callimachus.
Okay, thank you. So, what can we see here?
So was können wir hier sehen?
Lots of things.
Yes.
Spiritually or literally?
Okay, maybe my question is a little bit vague. So, in a sense, who first got the ascendancy and who later?
So wer hat den Oberherrschaft errungen und wer später?
South and north.
Yes.
Well, north was, then south was for a place, and then
Yes, exactly.
Also Nord war und dann Süd für eine kurze Zeit und dann wieder das Norden.
Because Laodice was the north, right?
Dann Laodice war das Norden.
Bernice was from the south and then was put in place, and then the north retaliated.
Also Bernice war vom Süden und hat ihre Stelle eingenommen, aber dann hat Laodice, das Norden, zurückgeschlagen.
So in a sense, first, I don't know how to illustrate this now. In a sense, I don't know if you can say north winds because it was in place first, right?
Also ich weiß nicht, ob wir sagen können, dass das Norden gewinnt, nur weil es...
Yeah, but they're just fractals.
Yes.
I don't,
So-
think, I don't think you can say, I mean, the north always wins
Yes.
if you break the fractals down, but if you put it in a lot in a chronological order, they're winning, losing, winning, losing, winning,
Yes,
losing.
yes.
Right?
That's what we want to look at. I mean, the south wins when Bernice was put in place, right? So
Die Süden gewinnt, als Bernice die Herrschaft übernimmt.
I will just put verse 6, part A,
Also
Okay.
Vers 6, der erste Teil.
and then verse 6, the second part of the verse, the north wins,
Und
right?
Vers 6, das zweite Teil, gewinnt das Norden.
Where now Laodice is now put back in place and she now basically rules.
Als Laodice zurückkommt und die Herrschaft übernimmt.
But when we now go to verse 7 down to verse 9,
Aber wenn wir die Verse 7 bis 9 lesen,
let's read those. David, you want to read verse 7 to 9?
But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate. It shall come with an army and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against them and shall prevail. And shall also carry captives into Egypt their gods with their princes, and with their precious vessels of silver and of gold. And he shall continue more years than the king of the north. So the king of the south shall come into his kingdom, and shall return into his own land.
Okay, thank you. So, who's now winning this battle here?
so wer gewinnt diesen Kampf?
Yes, the south, right?
Die Süden.
So verse 7 to 9 is now the south winning again, right?
Vers 7 bis 9, das Südreich gewinnt.
And let us just remind ourselves how these verses fulfilled historically.
Und wir werden zur Erinnerung anschauen, wie diese Versen sich historisch erfüllt haben.
And let's go to the live stream group again. I posted the
Also wieder zur Livestream.
Sister Sarah, you want to read this for us, please?
Das Zitat.
Mm-hmm.
This branch out of the same line of Berenice was her brother, Ptolemy Euergetes. He had no sooner succeeded his father, Ptolemy Philadelphus, in the kingdom of Egypt than, burning to avenge the death of his sister Berenice, he raised an immense army and invaded the territory of the king of the north, that is, of Syracuse Callinicus, who with his mother Laodice reigned in Syria. And he prevailed against them, even to the conquering of Syria, Cilicia, the upper parts beyond Euphrates, and almost all Asia. But hearing that a sedition was raised in Egypt requiring his return home, he plundered the kingdom of Syracuse, took 40,000 talents of silver and precious vessels, and 2,500 images of the gods. Among these were the images which Cambyses had formerly taken from Egypt and carried it into Persia. And the Egyptians, being wholly given to idolatry, bestowed upon Ptolemy the title of Euergetes, or the benefactor, as a compliment for his having thus, after many years, restored their captive gods. This, according to Bishop Newton, is Jerome's account, exacted from ancient historians. Extracted from ancient historians, but there are authors still extant, he says, who confirm several of the same particulars. Appian informs us that Laodice, having killed Antiochus, and after him both Berenice and her child Ptolemy, the son of Philadelphus, to revenge those murderers, invaded Syria, slew Laodice, and proceeded as far as Babylon. From Polybius we learn that Ptolemy, surnamed Euergetes, being greatly incensed at the cruel treatment of his sister Berenice, marched with an army into Syria and took the city of Seleucia, which was kept for some years afterwards by garrisons of the king of Egypt. Thus did he enter into the fortress of the king of the north, for Apollinaris affirms that Ptolemy made himself master over all the country from Mount Taurus as far as to India without war or battle. But he ascribes it by mistake to the father instead of the son. Justin asserts that if Ptolemy had not been recalled into Egypt by a domestic sedition, he would have possessed the whole kingdom of Seleucus. The king of the south thus came into the dominion of the king of the north and returned to his own land as the prophet had foretold. And he had also continued more years than the king of the north, for Seleucus Callinicus died in exile of a fall from his horse, and Ptolemy Euergetes survived him for 4 or 5 years.
Yes. Okay, so that's basically the historical fulfillment of these verses.
So das ist das historische Erfüllung dieser Verse.
And we can already see, right, that if you want to understand Daniel 11, we must really read a lot of history, okay?
Und wir können jetzt schon sehen, dass wenn wir Daniel 11 verstehen wollen, dass wir viel von der Geschichte lesen und verstehen müssen.
But the Lord wants to, give us a little bit an incentive that if we understand this, then we will understand something that only Gabriel and Christ understands, okay?
Aber der Herr möchte uns ein Incentive?
Anreiz.
I wanted to say Köder. Ein Anreiz. Der Herr möchte uns einen Anreiz geben, dass wenn wir das auf rechte Weise verstehen, dass wir hier am Mitternacht was ganz Besonderes über Daniel 11 verstehen werden, die nur Jesus und Gabriel versteht.
Okay, so basically we see, right, that here first the south winds, then the north winds, then in verse 7 to 9 the south winds.
Also wir können sehen, dass in Anfang von Vers 6 die Süden gewinnt und danach im Vers 6 der zweite Teil das Norden gewinnt und dann die Verse 7 bis 9 das Süden wieder mal.
And now let's read verse 10 and we will see that here the north wins again.
Und Vers 10 lesen wir jetzt und hier werden wir sehen, dass das Nordreich wieder gewinnt.
Okay, Sister Susie, want to read this first, please?
But his sons shall be stirred up and shall assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through. Then shall he return and be stirred up even to his fortress.
Yes. Okay, so here basically we see now that one of the sons of the kings of the north comes and retaliates against the king of the south, right?
Hier können wir sehen, dass die Söhne oder eine von den Söhnen von König des Nordens eine Armee sammelt und gegen den König des Südens, gegen Ägypten, wieder angreift.
So this would be then verse 10.
Das wäre dann Vers 10.
Okay, now let's jump and let's go to verse 11 to verse mark it down. Verse 11 to 12. Let's read verse
Jetzt die
11.
Verse 11 bis 12 lesen.
And the king of the south shall be moved with
Choler.
choler, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north, and he shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. And when he hath taken away a multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000s, but he shall not be strengthened by it.
Yes. Okay. So who wins here?
So wer gewinnt hier?
The south, right?
Das Süden.
So here in these verses we have again the south winning. And why? And what happened in these verses historically? Why are these verses like interesting to us?
So historisch, was geschah hier? Warum sind diesen Versen von Wichtigkeit zu uns? Bedeutung?
Jews got persecuted.
Yes. And this was with a ivy leaf, right?
Also die Juden wurden verfolgt, die Juden, die im Lande gewohnt haben, und das war mit einem Efeublatt.
Because
Efeu.
Efeu, yeah. Because the Jews basically they were forced to acknowledge the Egyptian gods and
in Egypt.
yes.
Also die Juden, die wurden gezwungen, den ägyptischen Göttern anzuerkennen.
Those who were living in Egypt.
Living in Egypt.
Also die in Ägypten gelebt haben.
Also die in Ägypten gelebt haben.
And basically this illustrates this Sunday law of, okay, when you're basically now marked as a separate or distinct people.
Und das markiert der Sonntagsgesetz, wo du als eine besondere Volk abgesondert wird.
Yes. In the sense that, for instance, when you see Hitler, what did he do?
Wenn wir Hitler zum Beispiel anschauen, was tat er?
And he gave them a badge, you know, that they are
Diese
Jews.
gelbe Stern gegeben, dass sie als Juden bezeichnet
And
werden.
what were they not allowed to do anymore?
Was dürften sie nicht mehr tun? Buy or sell.
Were not allowed to buy or sell anymore.
Sie dürften nichts kaufen noch verkaufen.
So all these stories are just an illustration of what is coming to about us.
All diese Geschichten, die sind nur eine Darstellung auf das, was auf uns zukommt.
Okay, so now let's go to verse 13
Jetzt Vers 13
and verse 50.
bis 15.
Sister Daniela, it's your turn, please.
For the king of the north shall return and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after certain years with a great army and with much riches. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south. Also the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. So the king of the north shall come and cast up a mount and take the most fenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand neither his chosen people, neither shall there be any strength to withstand.
Yes, okay, so who's winning in these verses?
So, wer gewinnt in diesen Versen?
No, right?
Das Nordkönig.
So, especially, so verse 13 and verse 15 speaks about the north winning.
13 und 15 spricht darüber, dass das Norden gewinnt.
But now when we come to verse 16,
Aber jetzt, wenn wir zu Vers 16 ankommen,
it says, but he that cometh against him, against the king of the north, shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land, which by his hand shall be consumed. So who's this power?
so wer ist diese Macht?
Power is marked 14.
Yes,
Rome.
yes, was Rome, right?
Das ist Rom.
So this now pagan Rome entering the prophetic scene.
Das ist heidnisches Rom, der auf der prophetische Bühne eintritt.
Okay, and from this time forward, in the next verses, you don't really have so much the king of the north or the king of the south mentioned anymore. Okay.
Und von diesen Versen und weiter wird das König des Nordens und König des Südens nicht so erwähnt.
I mean, there are some verses that will mention it, but let's go to verse 17, because there you can...
Pretty much from this point on, Rome controls both.
Yes, almost.
Also
Yes.
von diesem Punkt an, Rom herrscht über beide.
Let's
sowohl
go to verse 17 and let's read
Jetzt
this.
Vers 17.
Daniel, you want to read this first?
He shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Thus shall he do, and he shall give him the daughter of woman, corrupting her. But she shall not stand on his side, neither be for him.
Yes. So, does anybody know what this verse speaks about?
League of the Jews, right? Antony and Cleo.
Julius Caesar.
Also Julius Caesar.
And he was basically set over Egypt as like a guardian. Okay.
Er wurde über Ägypten gestellt als ein Wächter.
And basically, when he was then as a guardian, there was like an open sedition.
Und während er als Wächter war, gab es eine offene Rebellion.
So, but who won this battle?
Aber wer hat das gewonnen?
Maybe let's quickly read this one. We'll just post this now in the live stream group. And Scott, you want to read this first, please?
The war growing more threatening, Caesar sent into all the neighbouring countries for help. A large fleet came from Asia Minor to his assistance. Mithridates set out for Egypt with an army raised in Syria and Cilicia. Antipater, the Idumean, joined him with 3,000 Jews. The Jews who held the passes into Egypt permitted the army to pass on without interruption. Without this cooperation on their part, the whole plan must have failed. The arrival of this army decided the contest. A decisive battle was fought near the Nile, resulting in a complete victory for Caesar. Ptolemy, attempting to escape, was drowned in the river Alexandria, and all Egypt then submitted to the victor. Rome had now entered in and absorbed the whole of the original kingdom of Alexander.
Yes. Okay. So who won this battle here in verse 17?
So in Vers 17, wer hat diesen Kampf gewonnen?
Rome.
The North, right?
So Rom.
So here verse 17, we also have the North winning.
So hier Vers 17, das Norden.
So the next time we basically have the North and South mentioned is in verse 25.
Das nächste Mal, wo Nord und Süd erwähnt wird, ist in Vers 25.
And maybe you can just read verse 24 just to get the context.
Um Kontext zu verschaffen, wir lesen auch noch Vers 24 dazu.
Okay, I think it's my turn. He shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. So what is this time here in verse 24?
So, was ist diese Zeit hier in Vers 24?
360.
Yes, it's this 360 years, right?
Diese 360 Jahre.
And it begins with, yes, exactly, right?
Und es beginnt 31 vor Christus.
I mean,
Aktiv.
we already marked this here in a sense, right? 31 BC to 330 AD.
Also 31 vor Christus bis 330 nach Christus.
And this was Battle of Actium.
Und das war der Kampf um Actium.
And who fought in the Battle of Actium?
Und wer hat in diesem Kampf um Actium gekämpft?
Antony against Caesar.
Yes, exactly.
Also Mark Antony und Cleopatra gegen Caesar.
So I just
Augustus.
yes, was Augustus Caesar. It's not on the line. I just write it here.
Also es ist nur hier runtergeschrieben, das hat nichts mit der Linie zu tun. Das ist jetzt hier Augustus Caesar.
Caesar versus Mark Antony plus Cleopatra.
Mark Antony und Cleopatra.
A?
Yes,
Try like this.
I think so.
Okay. And so who's the north and who's the south in this
Wer ist
illustration?
das Norden, wer ist das Süden hier in dieser Darstellung?
Jesus, no.
This is north.
Das ist Nord.
And Mark Antony, he was also a Roman, right?
Also Mark Antony, der war auch Römer,
But he hooked up with Cleopatra and therefore he now defended the Egyptian interest.
aber er war in Cahoots mit Cleopatra und deswegen hat er die Interessen von Ägypten verteidigt.
So he became the south.
Also er würde in dem Sinne das Süden.
And this is now what is illustrated here in verse 25.
Und das ist das, was in Vers 25 dargestellt
It says, and he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army, but he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. So who won this battle?
So wer hat das hier gewonnen?
The North.
Das
Right?
Norden.
So Augustus defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra.
Augustus hat Mark Antony und Cleopatra besiegt.
Okay, so and after that, basically, Rome controlled both the northern territory and the Egyptian territory, so they basically controlled both.
Und danach Rom hat die Kontrolle über das Nordreich und die ägyptische Reich, also hat die Kontrolle über beides.
But in verse 29,
Aber im Vers 29,
I mean, there's not a real battle marked, but it says here, at the time appointed. What time is it?
also hier gibt es keinen Kampf bezeichnet, aber Es sagt hier zur bestimmten Zeit. Und welche Zeit ist das?
3:30.
Yes, 3:30, right?
Das Jahr 330.
So at the end of the time,
So, zur Ende von dieser Zeit
it says, he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. So, what was the former and what was the latter?
So, was war das Vorherige und das Nachherige?
When they went down to Egypt.
Yeah, the former was Battle of Actium,
Also das Vorherige war das Kampf um Actium
and the latter one was the destruction of Jerusalem.
und das spätere war die Zerstörung von Jerusalem.
Okay, so therefore you also have in a sense, it says here he went towards the south, right?
In diesem Sinne sagt es, er ging zur Süden hin.
So when he destroyed Jerusalem, it means he fought against the south.
So, als er Jerusalem zerstörte, er kämpfte gegen den Süden.
Okay, so in this sense you have verse 29.
In diesem Sinne Vers 29,
The north went against the south,
das Nord gewinnt gegen den Süden.
but it also says that he now moves down to the south.
Aber es sagt hier, dass er sich auch umzieht zur Süden hin.
So even though it's not a battle, but what does it mean in a sense?
So, obwohl es sagt hier, dass es es ist kein Kampf hier, aber was bedeutet das?
Why are you saying that it's fighting against the south? It's just talking about the direction that he's going in.
Yes, but it always speaks about the north and the south, right?
Yes, that's true, but I mean, destroying Jerusalem is not destroying the south.
I mean, Marx he went against the south, right? Because it says it, he goes down to the south, and he
Yes, but-
destroyed Egypt and Jerusalem.
Okay, but he goes to Constantinople.
Yes, which is also the south in this illustration, right?
I mean, this is when he moved his place, right? So he became the dragon power.
Yes.
He became the armies of the north, then, so to say, right? Because he gave up the throne to the Pope, right? He himself moved toward the south.
Yes.
So
I mean, he definitely gave the throne up to the north, but
Also mit dieser Bewegung nach Konstantinopel, der hat den Thron den Norden überlassen, also den Papst überlassen.
I don't know.
because it says, but it shall not be as the former or the latter, meaning it shall not be as the Battle of Actium or the destruction of Jerusalem. So
Yes,
he goes
exactly.
down toward the south not to fight, but to,
Yeah, that's why.
he's not going down to the south to fight, he moves there and leaves the throne to the.
Also er geht nicht nach
Okay.
den Süden, um zu kämpfen,
Das ist
sondern
das-
er verlässt den Thron im Norden und geht nach Süden.
Yes, I mean that's true. He's not fighting here when he leaves 3:30, but let's just read what Uriah Smith says about it.
Aber lasst uns lesen, was es in Uriah Smith darüber zu sagen gibt.
Post this here.
About not, 29.
Yes, verse 29. And Brother Mark, can you please read this?
You've posted it? At the time appointed, he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former or the latter. The time appointed is probably the prophetic time of verse 24, which has been previously mentioned. It closed, as already shown, in AD 330, at which time this power was to return and come again toward the south, but not as on the former occasion when it went to Egypt, nor as the latter when it went to Judea. Those were expeditions which resulted in conquest and glory. This one led to demoralization and ruin. The removal of the seat of empire to Constantinople was the signal for the downfall of the empire. Rome then lost its prestige. The Western division was exposed to the incursions of foreign enemies. On the death of Constantine, the Roman Empire was divided into three parts between his three sons, Constantinius, Constantine II, and Constans. Constantine II and Constans quarrelled, and Constans, being victor, gained the supremacy of the whole West. He was soon slain by one of his commanders, who in turn was shortly after defeated by the surviving emperor, and in despair ended his own days. The barbarians of the north now began their incursions, and extended their conquests till the imperial power of the west expired in AD 476. This was indeed different from the two former movements brought to view in the prophecy, and to this the fatal step of removing the seat of empire from Rome to Constantinople directly led.
Yes. So as I understand, when he says here, it was not as the former or as the latter, meaning not so much that it was not a war as in former times, but rather it was like a infamous or
It was a defeat rather than a
Yes.
conquer.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
So, I'm not quite sure what you said with that there, Lawrence.
No, I mentioned basically when it says here in verse 29,
Yes,
it shall not be as the former or as the latter.
no, I got that much, yeah.
That it's not, in a sense, speaking that now it's not a battle, but it's rather a defeat and not a victory. As
Oh, okay, I understand.
It's
Also
not-
so im Vers 29, wenn es sagt, es war nicht wie das vorherige oder das nachherige, ist es nicht wie ein Sieg in dem Sinne, wo sie ins Kampf eingehen, sondern es war eine Niederlage für sie.
No, it's not going to fight and win like he did before. This time he's going and it's a terrible experience for him.
Yes.
That's why it's not like the former glory.
Should I
It's-
just said that?
It's okay. It's alright. What he said was fine. Okay, so so basically we can see, right, that here the north gets defeated by the south,
Also
right?
hier können wir sehen, dass das Norden besiegt wird durch den Süden.
Okay, that's at least what I get from this verse. Okay.
Zumindest das ist das, was ich von diesem Vers entnehme.
Yes.
Who would say that he's defeated by the south? And it has been the barbarians who defeated him. We would say, well, we do say the barbarians are the south followers.
Also die barbarische Mächte ist das, was wir als den Südmächten in diesem Fall bezeichnen würden.
I mean, it just shows that, in a sense, yeah, the north now gets a defeat. That's what it shows. Okay,
Also die
so
Norden erleiden eine Niederlage.
and the south gets the ascendancy because he now goes to the south. So
Und
that's how I would just simply view it.
die Süden gewinnen der Oberherrschaft, weil er nach Süden geht.
So therefore, I would just mark this here, verse 29. You have the former and the latter were victories for the north.
Also die vorherige und das spätere waren Siege für das Norden.
But now, in verse 29, when he now moves to the south, that's now a victory for the south.
Aber wenn er jetzt nach dem Süden umzieht, nach Konstantinopel, das ist in dem Sinne öffnet ein Sieg für den Süden.
Yes, I mean it's marking the Sunday law again, right? The
Yes.
south rises against the north. That's the barbarians coming against us.
Das markiert das Sonntagsgesetz. Kommen gegen das Nordmächte, die barbarische Mächte kommen gegen.
Exactly. So basically, the next mentioning of north and south is then in verse 40.
Und der nächste Erwähnung von Norden und Süden ist in Vers 40.
And we understand, right? Verse 40a was 1798.
Wir verstehen, dass Vers 40, der erste Teil war 1789,
Which was a victory for the
98.
south.
was ein Sieg für den Süden war.
And verse 40b
Und der zweite Teil von Vers 40,
was then a victory for the north.
ein Sieg für das Norden.
Okay, so having put all this now in place, okay,
Da wir das alles in Platz gestellt haben,
and we looked at this already quite some times,
und wir haben einige Male das angeschaut,
because this says here, verse 40, right, the battle between the north and the south is at the time of the end.
denn
Okay,
dieses hier sagt, dass das Kampf zwischen Norden und Süden ist zur Zeit des Endes.
and we understand the time of the end is the Sunday.
Und wir verstehen, dass das Zeit des Endes ist das Sonntagsgesetz.
So, and therefore all these stories, what we just looked at, these different illustrations where the south wins or the north wins,
So, all diese Geschichten, die wir eben angeschaut haben, wo die Süden gewinnt oder eben das Norden gewinnt,
must take place obviously in the Sunday law crisis. Okay?
Mussten alle in dieser Sonntagsgesetzkrise stattfinden.
So, and now comes obviously the confusing part.
Und
Okay?
jetzt kommt das Verwirrende dazu.
Because I have absolutely no idea how to now take all these stories and just bring them all together.
Ich habe keinen Plan, wie wir all diese Geschichten nehmen können und sie alle aufeinanderlegen können,
Because
zusammenlegen
obviously
können.
they are in a self contradictory if you would place them all at the same point, right?
Denn natürlich, das ist ein riesen Widerspruch, wenn wir alle zur selben Punkt stellen werden.
In the sense that one time the north wins, one time the south wins.
Also in dem Sinne, dass einmal das Norden gewinnt und einmal das Süden und so weiter.
So, and therefore the Lord must give us a key somehow to know either put them in a certain sequence.
Also der Herr muss uns deswegen einen Schlüssel geben, einen Schlüssel des Verständnisses geben, dass wir sie entweder in einer gewissen Reihenfolge hier markieren,
Or that somehow He shows us how these seeming contradictions can be just simply solved.
oder
I have no
er
idea how.
öffnet zu unserem Verständnis, wie all diese scheinbare Widersprüche sich lösen.
I'm not sure why you make that point, but because when you go to Daniel 11 verses 1 to 4, for instance,
Also wenn wir zu Daniel 11 die Verse 1 bis 4 zum Beispiel anschauen,
verses 1 to 4 is the whole Sunday law crisis.
die Verse 1 bis 4 beinhaltet das gesamte Sonntagsgesetz.
Because you've got the first three kings is the first half and of the till the midnight cry, and the fourth one is the midnight cry to the
Denn es
final
gibt die ersten 3 Könige hier rein und dann das 4. hier.
right? And then you've got Sister White takes this quote where she parallels Daniel 11:31 to 36
Dann
with Daniel 11:40 to 45.
gibt ein Zitat, wo Ellen White nimmt Daniel 11, 31 bis 36 und sie stellt es gleich mit Daniel 11, 40 bis 45.
So you've got three witnesses there, that you've got three portions of Daniel 11, all parallel in the same history,
So
there's a
gibt's
period of time. Right?
3 Zeugen, die 3 verschiedene Teile von Daniel Kapitel 11 nehmen und sie alle stellen zu derselben Zeitperiode.
Yeah, they're all three periods, right?
So alles sind 3 Perioden.
So how I would see it is you've got to find the beginning and end points. You've got to rightly divide, and you've got to know where a point started and where a point's ended, and that's the key
So
to take these things.
der
down.
Schlüssel, wie ich das verstehe, ist, man muss das Wort auf rechte Weise zerteilen. Man muss das Anfangspunkt von jeder Geschichte und das Endpunkt von jeder Geschichte erkennen.
Yes, that's for sure. But my point is,
Sicherlich.
you cannot have, in a sense, one story saying the king of the south wins here at the beginning, and the other story saying the king of the north wins here at the beginning.
Aber mein Punkt ist, du kannst nicht hier am Anfang haben, eine König, zum Beispiel König des Nordens gewinnt hier und dann in einer anderen Geschichte zur selben Punkt der König des Südens gewinnt.
So that's basically my dilemma, how you can bring in now all these, because you have many stories showing the south wins at the beginning, and many shows that the north wins at the beginning.
So, das ist mein Dilemma, denn es gibt viele Geschichten in Daniel 11, wo es zeigt, dass das König des Südens am Anfang gewinnt, und aber auch viele oder sogar viel mehr, wo das Norden am Anfang gewinnt.
So therefore, how to now bring these together, I don't know yet.
Wie wir das alles zusammenbringen, das weiß ich eben jetzt nicht.
But obviously, it's definitely sure that all these stories they have to be taken individually as portions and placed here parallel at the Sunday law. That's for sure.
Für sicher ist es, dass all diese Geschichten für sich individuell genommen werden und hier in der Sonntagsgesetzkrise gesetzt werden müssen.
They're parallel to it.
Sorry, one of the things is that you have the south rising against the north at the Sunday law, but you also have it at the midnight cry. So you've got
Yes.
two different
Der
things. You've got to
Süden
take that
gegen
into
Norden am Sonntagsgesetz, der aufkommt, aber auch zur Mitternachtsrufe. Also da gibt es 2 verschiedene Teile.
Yes.
So it's quite a bigger portion than you think.
Yes, yes, yes. And maybe like these fractals, if we go into the fractals, they might, open up
Yes.
further possibilities just to see that, one time there's the north and this and the sea, then the south again, and then the north and the south, and all these things.
Wenn man diese Fraktalen nimmt, dann kann es sein, dass in der verschiedene Fraktale. Es kann in einer sein, dass hier der Norden gewinnt, aber in der andere Fraktal der Süden zur selben Punkt.
Yes. So that's something which is really deep, and the Lord will soon reveal it to us.
Das ist etwas sehr Tiefes und der Herr wird uns das so bald auftun,
When we come here to midnight and receive this light.
wenn wir hier am Mitternacht ankommen, dieses Licht erhalten.
But we only can receive this light here if we now already start studying these things beforehand.
Aber wir können dieses Licht hier nur erhalten, wenn wir diese Dinge zuvor studieren.
Then the Lord can just give us the key and then we see it.
Denn der Herr kann uns diesen Schlüssel geben und wir werden imstande zu sehen.
Well, one thing's for sure, right? At the end, the 10 kings eat our flesh and burn our fat, right?
Also sicher ist, dass am Ende die 10 Könige essen ihrem Fleisch und brennen sie mit Feuer.
And we're already seeing a little beginning of that around the world now, right?
Und um den Welt gerade heute, wir können einen kleinen Einblick dessen schon erkennen.
Because when you get to the end of it, it says the nations were angry.
Denn wenn man zu Ende ankommt, es sagt, dass die Nationen zornig waren, also in der Vergangenheit bezogen.
So we've seen the coronavirus as part of this pestilence, and now we're seeing this trouble rising. It's given
Der
us a little-
Coronavirus war ein Teil von diesen Pestilenz und jetzt sehen wir diese Trübsal, der aufkommt durch die Bevölkerung.
Yes, yeah. So, could everybody follow at least the thought and at least can understand, that there is a dilemma, but obviously the Lord will.
Also konnte jeder den Gedanke folgen und verstehen, dass es zwar wohl ein Dilemma gibt, aber dass der Herr uns das wohl auftun möchte.
Okay. Amen. Then, let us keep this in prayer that the Lord really gives us this understanding that only Christ and Gabriel have.
So lasst uns das im Gebet halten, dass der Herr uns dieses Verständnis gibt, die wohl nur er und Gabriel haben.
And it will be a glorious revelation.
Und das wird ein glorreiches Offenbarung.
And let's pray in our prayer world.
Lasst uns mit unserer Gebetsrunde abschließen.